Sometimes the quietest places hide the loudest feelings. My name is Anna. I'm 24, and I work in a small secondhand bookshop tucked between a cafe and a flower stand on the old part of town. The place always smells of paper, rain, and dusted cinnamon from next door. I love it. Or maybe I've just learned to hide inside it. Most days pass the same way. Morning deliveries, sorting new donations, soft music playing on an old radio. The shop's owner lets me choose the soundtrack, so I usually pick something slow: piano, lo-fi jazz, anything that matches the sound of turning pages. I like the routine. It's predictable, quiet, until she started coming in. Her name is Zoe. At least that's what I learned from the sketchbook she once left behind. She's 26, an art student who says the bookshop has good lighting for drawing. I remember the first time she walked in, hair tied messily, headphones hanging around her neck, sketching pencil tucked behind her ear. She smiled at me, not just politely, but like she already knew I'd be part of her day. "Do you mind if I sit by the window?" she asked. "Not at all," I said, pretending to read. She'd come often after that, always the same spot, by the big window where sunlight hit the floorboards in long stripes. Sometimes she'd buy a book. Sometimes she'd just sit, headphones off, sketching in silence. I'd sneak glances when I thought she wasn't looking, but sometimes she'd catch me, and instead of pretending not to notice, she'd smile again. One afternoon, the rain started out of nowhere. She stayed longer than usual, drawing while I rearranged a shelf. The power flickered and the radio went quiet. For a moment, only the rain spoke. Then she looked up and said, "Funny how storms make everything sound alive." I laughed softly. Alive or just louder? Maybe both. That was our first real conversation. She showed me her sketch, a quick charcoal drawing of the shop interior, but the figure by the counter looked suspiciously like me. "That's very accurate," I said. "I draw what catches my eye." Her tone was light, but it stayed with me the rest of the evening. Since then, our talks became a part of the routine, about books, art, random things like how coffee tastes different on rainy days. She'd tease me for always putting the same novel in the front display, and I'd tell her she needed to finish at least one of the books she bought. And slowly, the silence between us changed. It wasn't the quiet of strangers anymore. It was something softer, almost shared. I started looking forward to her visits, to that small sound of the doorbell when she arrived, to the way her hair caught the light when she leaned over her sketch pad. Sometimes I wondered what she saw when she looked up from her drawings, but I didn't ask. I was afraid the answer would make the air too heavy to breathe. The rain kept returning that week, as if the weather was on her side. Every afternoon, Zoe appeared with wet hair and that same sketchbook under her arm. Sometimes she brought coffee, always with too much sugar. "For balance," she said. One day, she arrived just before closing time. The shop was empty, the streets outside glowing orange in the streetlights. She shook off her umbrella and smiled. "Thought you'd be gone by now." "I like staying late," I said. "The silence feels different when everyone else goes home." She nodded. "Can I stay too?" I only managed a quiet yes. We sat by the window. She opened her sketchbook, flipping through pages, portraits of strangers, trees, rooftops. Then she stopped at one, a half-finished drawing of two figures sitting across from each other, one looking out the window, the other watching her. Me, again. "You make good company," she said softly. "I don't say much. That's why." The power flickered again, just like before. The radio stopped. The shop fell into that kind of hush that feels almost alive. She looked at me, really looked, and said, "Sometimes I wish I could draw silence. I think it would look like you." I didn't know what to say. My heart did something strange. A flutter, a stop, a fall. The sound of rain filled everything, and suddenly the space between us didn't feel like distance. "You ever get tired of being here?" she asked. "Sometimes, but it feels safe." "Safe is good," she said, "but not forever." She closed her sketchbook, slid it across the table. "Keep it," she said. "Why?" "So you'll remember what you look like when someone really sees you." I traced my fingers over the cover. Soft paper, faint pencil dust. When I looked up, she was watching me with that same steady calm, but there was warmth there too. Something new, something waiting. Outside, the rain slowed to a whisper. She stood, pulled her jacket closer, hesitated. "Coffee tomorrow?" "Here?" I asked. "Anywhere." When she left, the bell above the door rang one last time, the sound stretching into the quiet. I stayed there, staring at the empty chair, at the sketchbook she'd left behind, at the life I hadn't realized was changing. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what she said, about safe not lasting forever. The next morning, I opened the shop early, set 2 cups of coffee on the counter, and waited by the window. Sometimes love doesn't arrive with fireworks or confessions. Sometimes it walks in every day, sits by the window, and teaches you how to look up.